Yeah. Mr. Independent thought, I don't fuck with thoughts. The I am my name, say I'm hard to stop. Invisibility code activated. Business all on my face like I already made it. Taking niggas to school, they all degraded. Don't care about your nigga, yeah, I'm the greatest. Muhammad Ali, all up in my vein. And you can say what you want, nigga, I ain't changing. Chick in the other room, already changing. Fucked up Park Main, I ain't even famous. Weatherman, nigga, we hurricaning. Rain, sleet, snow, hell, we the main event.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Liv back with the Black Male Genesis Podcast, Part 8. Can you believe it is 8 episodes in? With my boy B here, my teammate. He's from Chicago.
Yes, sir.
I don't know why I'm holding the baseball, but I saw it, and that's what I'm doing now. Ain't nothing more American than that.
We in the playroom right now.
That's it. So, man, today is Juneteenth, and it's really cool that as of last year, it was recognized as a federal holiday for all African Americans, 1865, if I'm not mistaken. Before I get into that, thanks for viewing. I want to introduce B and get him to tell you a little bit more about himself.
What's going on, y'all? Bernard Murray II from the Southside of Chicago. Full-time educator by day. And on Friday Night Lights, we on the football field.
Interception king.
Right, trying to get them W's. That's about it. Yeah, I teach any social science course, U.S., world, psychology, econ, business management. I teach it all. So yeah.
The other brother doing big things. How long you been here?
6 years.
Okay, so he's been in Dubai about 6 years, and honestly, it's like a 25-minute drive straight down the highway to his crib. So thanks for letting me be here, man.
Anytime.
For sure. So we got shout out to Southside Chicago, shout out to Chi-Town. I know that pizza's on point. I've only been there just stopping through for a layover, but I really want to go there in the summer. Shout out to Durham, North Carolina, my hometown. What's up? What it do? Bull City, throw it up.
Right.
So Juneteenth. First of all, before I get started into Juneteenth, shout out to Lil Duval for for the rich bro, you know what I'm saying? And this necklace here is by Versace, so shout out to Versace, represent my Italian heritage. My great-grandfather is Italian.
Nice.
And my great-grandmother is Puerto Rican. So, yeah. So, from what I know about my heritage, a lot of the slave trade was through the Caribbean. And I think a lot of scientist-oriented people, from what I hear, were from the Sahel, and then they went through Hispaniola. Obviously, there was Christopher Columbus, things like that. But what I learned is 75% of Puerto Ricans have Taino blood.
Yes.
And you know about the Tainos?
Yes, Tainos were the original Aborigines of Puerto Rico. Before it was Puerto Rico, it was Hispaniola. Spanish came through, and they're just like the Aztec, Incas, Mayans, Choctaw, Cherokees. The Tainos was that native Aborigine tribe, indigenous to that place. Okay. So yeah, Taino is definitely the mother blood of Puerto Rico.
Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, so at least know I'm on point with that. There was I think like a short film, low budget film made. It's called The Last Tainos. I might be on some on YouTube or whatever. But I definitely want to get to Puerto Rico. What are some of your roots that you know?
My grandmother traced it back Choctaw, so I mentioned Choctaw, Mississippi. So Choctaw Indians. The Murray name is, of course, I think it's Irish, but I haven't traced that back. But I know Choctaw definitely. Okay. And what's crazy is that's my mother on my mom's side. My grandmother on my dad's side traced it back from Georgia through, I think, Cameroon.
Did they do the ancestry test, or did they just do it through family?
I think they did a while. She had records and stuff. This is maybe when I was in high school.
Okay, cool.
So I'm talking about 20 years ago.
Okay, cool.
So they traced it back, and what's crazy is I was here, and I was in a JBR somewhere. Met a dude from Cameroon. Looked just like my cousin. Swear to God.
Word.
So I'm like,
so you might be.
Yeah. So it's like you notice that the facial features look like my cousin. So I'm like, that's where you see that. But again, the DNA test, when you talk about multiplying it up, you know, my grandparents, grandma, granddad, parents side, you multiply that up, you got 16. You got 8.
True.
You multiply up 16, and you keep going, so you can only get a certain tree, a pathway. You can't get it all.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
It's accurate to a point, but it's not as accurate as it should be.
Okay.
But it's still it's good to know.
Yeah.
And of course we always trace it back to just being black.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like the Black Panther, the movie was so instrumental not because of what it did, but the notion that Michael B. Jordan's role brought through with Killmonger and this idea of the lost tribe, which has been a thing in hip hop culture, the thing is our culture's idea of we can trace ourselves back after we don't know where.
Yeah,
we can't know in America, so we're that lost tribe. We're in the middle. We have no real home, which is why traveling abroad is so amazing because we can go anywhere we want to and fit in.
Yeah,
like we can go any country. I lived in Japan,
South America,
anywhere and fit in. Japan lived there. France was in there. Here, everything we do. Next stop is Singapore. Just go in and just we blend right in. And that's the way we gotta move. Like wherever our head is, where our family is, we're just home. That's it.
That's true. It's funny to have somebody. How many countries you been to? Ish.
Not many. Like maybe 10, 15.
10? Okay, 10, 15.
Yeah.
We'll say 13.5.
Right.
For the middle. So I've been to 20. 20 was just when I did the visa run to Oman.
Gotcha.
So I count. If I landed on a soil, I count it.
Gotcha.
Some people don't. I do because coming from the projects, man. Hey, look, it counts.
Right.
You got to count that. I got some friends back home that definitely want to travel internationally. There's another brother that has done it.
Yep.
He plays American football. He obviously is an instructor. He's a big brain. He knows a lot of history. He knows a lot of stuff. He's really like student of life, and I respect him a lot.
Appreciate
and one of the other defensive captains, so that works out. So Juneteenth. What do I know about Juneteenth? Really, I'm gonna be honest with you, not much. What I know is, 1865, June 19th, and that, again, it became a federal holiday last year. And I think about that. 1776 was when America was independent. And then 1865, 107 years? No, 100
Dude, don't do math. I'm not a math person.
1776, 85, so 109 years later, it was, Juneteenth, right? But that's not the end. You still got Jim Crow. You still got, Lynch syndrome. You still got a whole bunch of other things. You still got the prison industrial complex, which I'm sure he will expand on just by me even using those buzzwords. But the key thing is it's good to recognize and, what people have done to pave the way for us today. Not just black people, because there were a lot of white people that helped us get free as well.
Yes.
To even get there. Shout out to my boy Ashton. I think in episode 6 in Brooklyn, he was talking about how the NAACP actually was headed by a white dude or white lady, if I'm not mistaken. Go back and check that out. I didn't know that, but he said if it was civil rights were being violated, they were there to support you. So with that said, what do you know about Juneteenth?
A lot. I taught. So I have to understand it, and I'll start from now and then go back because that's how I teach. I teach reverse chronologically.
Word.
So when it comes to understanding the history, I appreciate what America did with the holiday, but in the grand scheme of things,
we need more.
Even that's it's just the same way it goes with any notion like these performative acts. I appreciate it. It's recognition. Yeah. But and I hate being negative.
No, it's not a negative thing. This is one thing that I always talk about. It's reality.
Right.
History is people are so quick to just want to have utopia.
Right.
You're not being negative. You're just saying how you really feel.
Right. And so even that, before coming here, we left the States because of the educational system that was in Chicago, because of the violence in Chicago. I was very vocal in what was happening with the election. 2015, we made moves around, I'm going to say, 2016. In 2015, being 2016, I was seeing what was happening. Yeah. I said Trump's going to be elected. I have the Instagram, I have the Facebook post to prove it. I almost got fired from the job I got hired from because I was saying the truth. Like,
was it like via social media or something?
Yeah, because they saw my account. They're like, you can't say these things because you're revolutionary. I'm like, I'm just speaking the truth. So I was saying so much about Trump should be the idea of him being in office was going to unearth the ugliness that was already there. Yeah. And it did. So that, hindsight, I'm not saying I call my shot, but hindsight, that's what it was. So understanding the trajectory, I first celebrated Juneteenth, I think 2005, like when I really understood it.
Okay.
Last year, Howard, I went to California at my time, my ex, went to California, and we had a Juneteenth celebration in the Bay. And it was amazing because I knew about it because, shout out to Professor Carr at Howard University.
DC,
right. He told me all about it. He taught us about it. I actually stayed an extra year because I took one of his courses, and I wanted to dive deeper into. I can't be to HBCU without understanding our history.
Right.
So then, on my 4th year, I took his class, and on my 2nd year, I took his class. So I took it twice because I wanted more. Then I actually was in the movement of like celebrating Juneteenth in 2005, and then since then, I knew what it was. This idea of the emancipation was for the North. Because when the emancipation was broadcast, there was 2 countries. You had the Union and Confederacy. So the emancipation was not. You can make this declaration by the president, but because they were literally seceded and the whole country, the Confederacy didn't abide by it.
So it was like a loophole.
Right. Yeah. So they were still slaves after the Civil War. It wasn't until the word got down. Had before phones, before Instagram, Twitter, before anything direct message. It had to get down. It took 2 years to get down.
So by the time you get a text,
right? It wasn't like, "Hey, we free, y'all." No, hashtag give us free. No,
nigga, we're free.
Right? It wasn't that. It was even before that. It had to get down there. And by the time they got down there, they were still. That's when Jim Crow came in. Like, y'all not free yet. Stay on this. Be a sharecropper. Right? And a book I have. I wish I had it with me, but it's in we're packing it. It's called "The Warmth of Other Suns."
What is it?
The Warmth of Other Suns.
The Warmth of Other Suns.
By Isabel Wilkerson. Great Isabel Wilkerson. Great book about the Great Migration. And when it first came out in 2010, I actually bought a class copy for my AP US history, and we read that during our Roaring 20s unit.
We need that, bro.
The kids. I mean, I'm teaching on the northwest side of Chicago, like Hispanic kids, like maybe like 2%, black, mostly Latino, Mexican, Puerto Rican, whatever. Yeah. And we're reading about the Great Migration. Knowing that their families were migrants, knowing that Puerto Rico, Mexican, so I made those connections for them. Yeah. They were like, "Mr. Mountain," and I'm like, "This is the story of America. We all immigrants." Yeah. And so they loved it. And these kids, ate up. And so every year since then, teaching A Push, I read it and we talked about it.
They ready, man. They ready at a young age.
But here's what's crazy: I brought that book here.
Okay.
Read it to my class, and I got pushback from some students, some parents, and some of the admin.
They weren't ready, you think?
No, because they're like, why are you teaching this? Well, I teach U.S. history. You can't teach U.S. history without the whole thing.
Yeah, true.
So it was very interesting teaching that, and even kids here are ready for it. So that just tells you the story behind it. So
and how much of a culture shock and how raw it is, because a lot of people, they have this notion of America,
right?
And I mean, that's honestly, I think it was just a culture shock. Yeah. I mean, you know because you were there, but outside looking in, I feel like it was just a culture shock, and maybe sometimes parents, maybe they're not ready for their kids to know it. Like that, they may be ready for it, and the kids may be ready for it, but the parents may not be ready for the kids to be ready for it.
Right?
Does that make sense?
No, 100%.
Okay.
I agree. Okay. And so the idea of Juneteenth is wonderful. Then you have the people latching on to celebrate it, and that's not what this is about.
The monetizing.
Exactly. It's like those who know knew. Yeah. And those who don't, welcome to the party. Right. The more you know the story. Yo, so I appreciate it for bringing awareness.
Yeah, sure.
And I know that it was needed given the climate, following George Floyd, following the stuff that's still happening, and there needs to be more.
Yeah, Brianna, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we can have a shirt, and we still would do justice with all the
hats.
Yeah, everything. And it's just like it's so disheartening when living here or even living there, you're talking bad on America. No, it's like your family. Think about this. It's like your family. You got people in your family who you love, but they're not doing right.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? You're going to be
tough love.
That's it.
That's all it
You're
is.
critical.
It's not negative. It's just tough love. They don't. Yeah.
You're going to give them feedback. You're going to. It's called constructive criticism.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's why I made it a point for my podcast to be. It is what it is.
Right.
Look, people watching this, you already know how I am. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Right? You have the right to click off that button and go elsewhere. Right. But if you want to learn something, right, stay here. Yeah. And you know Jane Elliott, of course, right?
Yes.
Jane Elliott.
Yes.
What I like about her work is like she literally talked about how when you start talking about racism and stuff, like she said, I think the white kids in the class had the blue eyes. I think it was the blue eye, brown eye test. So she treated, I think, one of them worse because they had a different color eye. Yeah. And one of the kids couldn't take it and left. She's like, you exercise the privilege that black people don't have. You can just leave. You can but we can't leave the skin. And so that was interesting. I was just thinking about Jane Elliott because that's actually a person who is white. That's all in discussion. Person is white. Right. That really did a lot. So when I see a lot of the pro-blacks, they're like, oh, all white people bad. I'm like, bro. You have to understand history. It's just an ignorant thing.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we do this. Because if you look back in your family tree, I guarantee you got some European somewhere. Yeah, somewhere. And if you don't, somebody you know does. Because we all got somebody in our family that's light skinned in the mug. Right. You might think they white, but no, that's cool. That's great. A great intro. For me, I'm watching because I think 1 hour is a limit. So. But yeah, we watching it, so we got time. So that's actually a really good start. What I was also thinking about was the monetization of Juneteenth. Now, shout out to the Durham Bulls. I did like the Durham Bulls jersey that I saw. Okay. I thought it was great. Like I'm all for the recognition of that because Durham actually had Black Wall Street. Okay. Okay. I had a Black Wall Street, so there's a lot of black culture in Durham. So I wasn't really tripping about that. I actually would like that jersey.
But here's the thing, right? What's up? If you've been about the fight, if you've been down, doing little things here and there, yeah, doing no matter how small, right? Yeah, doing something for Juneteenth, not mad at you. Yeah. But if you ain't done that now, and then all of a sudden, just like Walmart, I think I was watching Walmart had the ice cream and the plates. Yeah. It's like, what are you really doing? Yeah. Because you ain't been about that.
You ain't gotta have one icy pop, but if you you just
like even like this flag, like it's funny because I've been trying to get this flag for decades.
Yeah, word.
I mean the RGB red, black, and green. If people don't know, that's the one thing that the history of it. This idea of, colors on flags means something. The red, white, and blue, I get it. We are critical of family because we want them to do better. Because when you know better, you'll do better. There's no excuse. America knows better. Yeah. They're not doing better. And all fronts. Forget just black folks. Yeah. Let's talk about even here. Talk about like in the next room, my 3 kids. Got a set of twins and a COVID baby. Okay. Like he was born in 2021 in March, so about a year ago. Yeah. Right? Left the hospital. Ask me how much the bill was. Ask the question. Ask me how much was the bill.
In Durham's? In Durham's?
In Durham's.
Okay, we're going to go Durham's local. Oh, for COVID? Supply chains? Bruh. 50,000?
66 Durham.
That's it? The more you know.
Full baby. Full birth.
That's 1,000 organs.
Full 66 Durham. We still paying for the birth of the twins, and that was 10 years ago.
The more you know. And honestly, look, I go to Netherlands a lot. It's 6th in happiness, 5th in healthcare as of, I think, 2019. And that's, she said, 66 dirhams. We shoot ourselves in the foot in America. I talk about this all the time. And that's why I tell y'all niggas to get your passports. Because you get to see something else. And it's not the same everywhere. I hear that a lot, like sometimes, like, oh, it's the same everywhere. It's not the same. No. If it was the same everywhere, you wouldn't need a passport. Right. So I try to get people on the show, from different walks of life. This is episode 8. I've done, 8, man. 8. So, I try to, it's more than me speaking. There's other people speaking on these things. And I'm just glad that, I got people on here that's going to be honest about it. Because that's what we need.
That's it. And that's, again, the more you know. So healthcare is one. The idea of, we can go down the rabbit hole of gun violence. We don't have much time, but gun violence, why does America have more guns than people? again, I'm not. It Howard's in this idea of teaching about real history. Why do we have to be the superpower? What do we need nuclear weapons for? To deter from what? Right? Because I've lived in Hiroshima. I lived in this place that got bombed in 1945.
Probably still got.
I was there.
Yeah.
Like, I've talked to survivors, right? And this is 2005. So why are we still stockpiling nuclear weapons when we already see what happens? Like, I already know the devastation. Like, when you land, the energy in Hiroshima is different.
And it's also still, the half-life of uranium is like 200 something years.
So there's probably whatever it is. And so the people in Hiroshima are beautiful. Yeah. Like, when I say they understand a level of peace that I didn't realize was there, it's amazing. Yeah. So you're stockpiling weapons, you have guns for what though?
You know, one thing, I want you to finish this, but I was thinking about, I read a story of a guy who actually got hit by both bombs and still lived. He got hit in Hiroshima.
Then he went to Nagasaki.
He got hit by one, went to the other place, and got hit by the other one, and still lived. Just that is a point. You can Google that. But go ahead.
Like, that's so we have all the weapons, all the guns and gun violence. Why is that thing?
Real quick. So my opinion on that, as far as the guns,
right?
You know what Samuel L. Jackson says, right? Guns don't kill people. Stupid motherfuckers with guns kill people. Right. So, in my opinion, because I'm big on mental health, huge on mental
100%.
health. It's you don't just So B's right here, right? You can't see my feet. Well, you can see my leg now. Right. But if I'm kicking him, right? I'm kicking him under there. If you couldn't see that, and then he reacts, you'd be like, oh, it's just B. Like, that's kind of what happens. Like, it starts with the system being able to get paid enough, debt, all these different things in a flawed system that boil up to people doing stuff like this. And I'm not saying it makes it right, but nothing just happens.
No,
I just wanted to say
no. You segue great, because that's the crux of it. People, mental health is big,
huge,
but people have this false sense of narratives of, you're trying to take my guns away. If you got guns, knock yourself out. Stockpile as many as you want. Knock yourself out with
Second
guns.
Amendment, yeah.
We want to stop those who don't have the mental capacity or who are out to do ill will or who are younger. 18, you can buy a gun, but you can't smoke a cigarette until you're 21.
Okay.
Like, all these talking points, again, if we get picked up by any conservative network, they're going to say, no, but this is where it is. Nobody wants to take away guns. If you have guns, good. Take guns, great. There needs to be background checks to make sure that people and training. You don't just say, hey, here's a car, start it up.
Yeah.
Like,
check driver's ed or something.
We both been driving.
Yeah.
When it was 16 was the limit.
Yeah.
I started driving at 14.
Yeah.
But it was like controlled, understand the car. That should be the same thing with gun safety. And that's a whole, again, that's where it gets so mind-boggling when the government, because of healthcare, like if you want to say, well, let's solve the gun crisis by solving mental health. Great. Make free healthcare. Oh, but we can't do that because then you're lying. Then you are actually lying because you don't want to root the problem. If you say it's mental health, great.
Let's move in the goalpost.
Take the guns away. Let's do 100% free healthcare. Oh, well, we can't do that. Well, then why can't we do that? Let's do free education. Oh, well, we can't do that. Oh, so then
there's always money for water.
There's always something that we can't do because you don't want to address a real issue. There are people who are struggling, black, white, brown, whatever, and they're hurting for something. And they want a solution, and the only thing they can do is act out on violence. And that is
you're put into this 100%. Like cubicle. You know, it's funny when you say that because I was thinking about how that's facts right there. I was thinking about when you were talking about guns. I'm a fan of being able to protect myself, and America, and nothing's impossible, but America it's less likely to be invaded because we have them. But like, I agree, you can still have, like, it's not black and white. Like, things are not black and white. There's shades of gray. Right. And I think in our culture, we just need an enemy. Like, we need something, an enemy. And when I read the Russia, I heard that. You know, like, you need an enemy.
Yeah.
And we need to understand that we don't always need to fight.
No.
In our culture, we fight. Like, we love to fight. And that's not always a bad thing. But, like, we don't always need an enemy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you like red fruit punch, Gatorade,
and I like orange Gatorade,
and they like, you know what I'm saying? Then we don't have to fight and die about it.
But that's a major issue. People can't discuss, debate, disagree without hating somebody.
Correct.
Like,
or being assumed that it's hate.
Right. Like, why what I love about Trevor Noah, and I'm gonna bring him up. Trevor Noah does a great job.
He's Canadian, right?
No, South Africa.
Oh, South Africa, yeah. Trevor.
Bringing up, like, he brings up everybody. He just had one last week about Kellyanne Conway, and he brings up both sides, and he does a great job. Me personally, I respect that because I'm not in the mental space to do that.
Right.
If we can't have fundamental things that we agree upon, I just don't want to talk with you. Because then at a certain point, you've missed the boat, right?
Or you won't listen.
And that's it, because I'm down to listen. Yeah. I'm down. Every issue we can talk about. Like, I am conservative on some things. I am very liberal on other things. Like, when it comes to and that's it. Yeah. And that's, people have to realize that's how it is. But what is my political affiliation? I'm a revolutionary. Everything needs to change in due time, in due course. And there needs to be some changes to keep things going. And when, what's the trend that led to George Floyd, it was crazy because I was like, nothing's gonna happen. We've seen it so many times. Nothing's gonna happen. I remember marching in 2015, Southside of Chicago, marching down 63rd Street with all my high school students right after Laquan McDonald got killed, and the tape got released. And the mayor at that time, Rahm Emanuel, was suppressing the videotape because it showed this one cop just came out of nowhere while other cops are subduing him. That's it.
Blocker.
And so we were like, we got to stop this. That was 2015, right? And I'm like, ain't it gonna change? So then when George Floyd, I'm like, nothing's going. I've been through this. I've been down this hill, right? And so once I saw the people like the U.S. states, once I saw international places, I'm like, oh, this was special. This hits different.
That was special.
This hits just a little bit different. Like, there's something going on.
Pandemic. Let's keep it real. In my opinion, pandemic did make it hit different too.
Yeah.
When you, it was like a scale to me. It was like you got black people, and then you got, I'm just being oversimplifying, everybody else. What happened was the scale, if struggles left, I think it shifted.
Yeah.
So like, people got here and saw what it's like to be black every day, but we still got shifted.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened. Yeah. It created a level of empathy.
And it had to be a perfect storm.
Yeah, true.
It was a pandemic,
true.
And though that
prolonged,
that led to people saying we got to do something. And now the shift is great, but there needs to be something to keep it going because now it's still happening. And now you're dealing with the ramifications of the pandemic, and with what's happening with the shootings in America. First off, every time I read the news, because I have to read the news every day because my kids are gonna ask me about something. They're talking about mass shootings. If there's a person that shoots somebody at gas station, that's not mass shooting. That's just somebody shooting somebody, right? It's a difference, right? Yeah. They're trying to. Then that's my problem with the media now. And I work in journalism, work for a newspaper. They try to, if it bleeds, it leads. That is our mantra.
Word.
So as we come to when it comes to the news, you have to run with that mass shooting, get people aware. Yes,
trigger word.
I think the pandemic, it's multifaceted. The pandemic and people being stuck at home, being isolated, being whatever, that is psychological, that messes with people. I had more students enrolled in my AP psychology class than ever because they want to know about, especially in this region. They want to know about mental health.
What up, UAE?
Right. They want to know about mental health. And so my kids are all about it.
Some people were scared for me to talk about it, but I am. When I go places, I'm a scientist, I go with it. And I dabble in the politics. I personally don't like debating it, but I like this because it's history.
Right.
And to be honest, if I'm real with myself, you can't get rid of politics. You can't. No matter what you do. But the history of it is great, and I'm glad you're talking about it. Keep going, brother.
That's the idea of what cabin fever. Like that's a legit psychological thing of if you're stuck in one place for so long, you get antsy.
Literally.
Right? And that's what's happening in America. That's this idea of why didn't it happen everywhere else? I think it's because of the easy access of. We were locked down here more than the States were.
Well, another thing, too, is the average European and other places in the world, they actually use their passports more than we do, too.
That's true.
That's all that's thing. That's a bunch of stale air.
It was 70. Last time I checked, this was 2016. I think it was 70% of people don't have passports.
So,
black people.
Okay, no. Okay, so here's the thing. If I'm not mistaken, less than 5% of African Americans have their passport.
Right.
It's low. And then, like, if you talk about black men, for the sake of the name of the podcast, I think it's like less than 1%. But I think that with the surge of black businesses booming, and especially black men, because here's the thing. when it come down to it, this is what's happening. I ain't got no problem with nobody as far as your race, okay?
Right.
Indians, they're coming in for IT jobs. Black men are just being pushed out because they're not. They will fight back, right? And now they're being forced because they're economically castrated to open their own businesses. That's what's been happening. I've been calling that for a long time. This is why people. I mean, a lot of people open their own businesses. It ain't just black men, but black men are very economically castrated.
Right.
Here in the UAE, they take care of their people, and if you
100%.
would just take care of the base, you got the foundation. But that's another discussion. So I just wanted to just point that out.
But that goes back to understanding. We go back to the criticisms of America, the tough love. The Emirati population here is what, 10%?
So like 2 million? Something like that?
Yeah, give or take 10% of the UAE is like Emirati.
Okay.
The largest population here is, of course, Indian, followed by Filipino.
Yeah, okay,
Right?
yeah, true.
When it comes to taking care of people, they have a program called Emiratization, where they literally are forcing companies to put Emiratis in position
As a foundation.
to get them started, because this country's 73 years, 1971, 20 plus 50, 51 years old.
51 years old, yeah.
Right?
I see you're bad boy.
That's economics.
Let's
That's real
go.
quick. So
You killed it on that.
this is their first generation of non-Bedouin people. Let's think about that. Their grandfathers were Bedouins. These are the first generation, so they're not used to this highly fast moving country that's just got built up real quickly. So we have to give them structures. The government says, we got you, right? You go to any European country in the EU, and yes, we can talk about the EU and their issues, but they protect their people. Why don't America protect their people?
Well, because the money's in the treatment, not the cure.
Right.
That's where it starts off. I mean, for me, I haven't been to UAE that long. I know there's like different rules on like what you can and can't say about the UAE, and I respect that. I respect everybody's culture.
Right.
But I also am willing to have a face-to-face conversation with any Emirati I meet, anybody I meet, to be like, hey, what can I do to make anything better? Because my job to be on this planet is to make whatever I'm around better, and that's going to include some growing pains, some bumps and bruises. But it is what it is. Right. What's our time? Do you have a time on that?
That is edge. Oh, I don't. It's not. You didn't have a time before.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, 23 minutes.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
29 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. I'm right in the middle. Okay, so no, but that's great. Digesting that. Since I have a ball right here, sports has been huge. He's got a Kaepernick shirt on, and that was a nice segue, by the way. I ain't gonna lie, I got to do that for myself. But shout out to Cap, Nike. I would love to partner with you, Nike, for real, because I agree with, just ever since Jordan, you've been really big about black people. Because Converse was big before Jordan got with Nike in like the 80s.
I mean, Nike bought Converse.
Well, now, yeah, because I got the CXs, yeah. Them CX Converses are nice. I wasn't even a big Converse fan.
I know, but they're
they soft. They real soft. So shout out to Converse too. Actually, I designed some Liv the brand design chucks. So shout out to y'all too. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. But yeah, you start to really going back to the international thing. Like when I started seeing people really having rallies abroad, I was like, wow. And then I saw on the football field after Kaepernick, after Tebow, who was allowed to kneel, Kaepernick wasn't allowed to kneel. But then
I wonder what the difference is. Why? But I'm not going to. Never mind.
We know what the difference is. Everybody knows what the difference is.
No.
Everybody knows.
Being a critical thinker,
But it's literally like once I saw that, and again, being that I went to 20 countries or been to 20 countries, including America, it's just so cool to just be viewed as a person when you're abroad. Like there is just like when I go back, it's a reverse culture shock. Not saying that all of America's bad, and shout out to anybody that fuck with me over there. But it's like I really encourage y'all to really get your passports and really get some perspective on your life.
Honestly, here's the thing. There also has to be this idea we have to do a job of helping our people understand that some of the stuff that we do at home we can't, because I'm still struggling with that.
No, that's real.
This idea of PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome, this idea of, got to be all black all the time.
Joyce DeGroy, I think she did post-traumatic.
Yeah. And it's like, my wife gets something all the time because, she is definitely the Martin to my Malcolm. I'll be all black. Everything, like, I'm all for it, right? But she tells me, like, you have to, like Lil Wayne said, real G's move in silence like lasagna. Like, you really gotta just be tactful with it. And I'm not very tactful.
Me either.
Right?
Me either.
When it comes to it, like, I'm aggressive. Like, if I want something, I'm
passionate.
Right. And you have to realize when you're on an international stage and abroad, you ain't gotta be that. So we have to,
because they'll listen to you.
Yes,
they respect you.
And that's so scary because you're like, you're actually listening to me.
And that's the difference, because you have to fight to just get above the 6 feet that you're in. Here, they'll really listen to you because the power of listening is very, very important.
Yeah.
Like, even having him here, being able to listen to him on the podcast and get this information. That's why I like doing the podcast, like getting this information. But yeah, go ahead, come.
But that's the hardest part of us helping to not only get your passport, because the passport's easy to get. It's, I believe, when we got ours, we got 4. Okay. It was $85 per passport, 4-week turnaround. With COVID now, it's been pushed back. But just getting it, people realize, I'm so scared. Sometimes a journey of 1,000,000 steps, 1,000,000 miles, starts with 1 step.
Yeah.
This idea of get the passport.
Yeah. Well, you will use it if you get it. And here's one thing I want to say, and I damn near want to take my glasses off when I say this, but I'm not going to do it. He has kids. Stop using your kids as an excuse. When you got them J's. Yeah. When you went to the club last weekend, and every weekend before that. Look, I'm all for that. I like to go out and have fun too. Yeah. But and you don't even have to travel the world. I'm not your daddy.
Just leave once.
Just leave once, and don't let it just be the Caribbean. Because I know how niggas do, and I get it. I look the Caribbean. I know. I'm pretty sure it's nice, but what I'm saying is you gotta see something else. You know.
There should be a book. We should write a book.
What up?
About, like, how to be black and abroad. The whatever steps to living abroad. Like, it starts with getting the passport, and then what countries do you go to first?
Yeah,
to get
your toe in the water.
Get your toe in the water. You can't just what we did.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's a whole. Literally, we still have a house in Chicago that we're paying for. We're renting out. We got our stuff together, and we just said we out. And that was tough.
Yeah. But you know, it's interesting. I'm really down with that, because shout out to my boy Stubbs. We did 2 podcasts. For some reason, I had technical difficulties on each one of them. I know it probably looked crazy, but he know my heart. He know I ain't doing nothing crazy. But shout out to you, because when I listen to people that haven't traveled or have been to the Caribbean, I'm realizing that I'm damn near professional with doing it. And there are some things he had brought up to me that was like, okay, well, what about this? What about this? And it's meaning, okay, one thing I think he might have said was, like, a lot of people really think that a lot of places are the Caribbean. You know, but it's so different. Yeah. You know, so like, and that's what I would have thought too, because everybody goes on cruises in Caribbean. Yeah. And like I said, you don't have to go abroad. One of my boys went to Brazil, and then he went to Colombia before that, and that was his first time, and he was like, yo, I had a good time. So he even went to South America before me. And so, like, I'm just glad that even if it's 2 or 3, we're getting there. And even if you're just trying to get your shit together, and you're trying to get to that point, like, I know people that have just left my hometown and just made 1 step to be able to do that. Because if I hadn't have went to DC, I wouldn't have left America for real. Because a lot of people in DC do travel international. I would have just stuck myself. So don't act like I ain't never been there. I've been there. Right. You know, I lived in the projects before. So I'll just say, you know, if you have an issue and you want help, hit me. I ain't hard to find, I ain't hard to reach. And you got somebody here, you know, talking about this stuff too. And look, I'm gonna be black till I die. This on the rub off.
Don't.
I told y'all that before.
Can't wash it off, man. I use black soap to keep it in there. Real.
You know what I'm saying?
Real talk. But that's my start is, I think, because I did travel young. My first international experience was 2001.
Wow.
When I was at Howard in DC, big up DC, I love DC. I went to Japan just for 3 months. And it was because of the idea of the embassy for Japan was down the street. And I applied for it, went and did it. I'm like, that's what's up. The school sent me, the school paid for it, it was great.
That helps. That's nice.
That's when I was 21. Then in the summer of 2003, when I changed my major to my minor in advertising, I got sent to France for the Cannes Advertising Festival. And I'm like, oh snap.
Where was that at?
That was in Cannes, France. Like,
where's that at?
South of France. So you got
is it
Paris. It's right below Nice.
Right below Nice?
Right, yeah.
Damn, I didn't know there was anything below Nice.
Dude, because you know Monaco.
Oh yeah, Monaco. Yeah, I went to Monaco.
That same strip in Monaco where they have the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Right down the same road, you have Cannes.
Because it curves.
Right. And so that was the first time like I seen like just Bugattis, Ferraris just chilling. I'm like, oh, can we drive? They're like, no, we're on assignment. We have to do advertising. I'm like, I want to go to Monaco. I want to drive. We can't go to Monaco. Right. So that was paid for. And
amazing.
Once that happened, I was like, the best way to do it is it starts with people first, like at school. Like when I taught back in Chicago and came back, I told my kids, wherever you go to college, see about international studies, study abroad.
Message.
And I had so many of my students, my young ladies especially, took advantage of it.
Yeah. They do normally. The ladies are quicker to it.
They went to Russia and they went to Russia, came back like, Mr. Murray, you're right. Like I told you, and they just kept going. So my idea is to push like our black and brown students to travel abroad. Start with, again, education is key. Like I can't knock that. We got to fight the system within the system. I want to be back and helping the system in America, but the best way I can help is to being away from it, so I can then use the people I still have in New York. With
I felt that too.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is too, what I noticed is, I'm glad you said that. Shout out to Travel Noir. So that's the black female group, travel group. There's a lot of, there's a couple. Obviously mine is for black men travel, stuff like that, into it. But there's different groups that are escaping my mind, but there's not enough black male travel groups.
Right.
And with the amount of mass incarceration, percentage-wise, for African-American males, it's really important that you get your passports. I've been saying this shit since 2013, niggas. So I hope that you, now, after COVID, or things like that, once you get your stuff together, I know gas is like $70 a gallon. I know niggas is thinking about scooters, hardcore, bicycles, getting in shape. I get that. I'm with you. I've struggled. I've been homeless. I know how that works. But what I'm saying is, take one pair of them J's when you had that refund check. Hopefully you still got some left.
That's real talk.
You can put that 150. It's 150 now.
I think it
something
is.
Like that?
When we did ours, I forgot. We just did ours last year because Bakari didn't have a passport, so he had to get a new one. So we had to renew.
Okay.
And
I did mine too here. Yeah.
I forgot how much was it.
Well, it was. I want to say it was about 100 to renew here in the UAE, and I got it in like 2 weeks, something like that. But if you got any problems, just let me know.
Right.
Let him know.
And the thing is, this idea of just starting out the process, because you said it's simple, like a pair of J's. Like that's real talk.
Bro, some J's are like $300-$400 now.
That's a passport.
At least.
You got J's that take you down the block. You got a passport that take you around the world. Like let's be real.
But you already got 5-10 pair of J's anyway, and you could have used your J stock to do. But that's another step.
That's a whole nother that's. I think it's just those little steps of how to start the process of going abroad. I'm
gonna be honest. Sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yes.
I understand that it's overwhelming, and I get that. So I always want to talk. Like, I'm serious. Like, reach out to me because I'll need to hear these. I want to say newbie questions, but I want to hear these. I want to hear these questions for newbies, like in a blind spot that maybe I won't reach or talk about
because we won't know it because we're already doing it.
Exactly.
And we don't know the hurdles, we don't know how it works, but the first step is to apply and get it. And what's crazy is this notion of when you, and this goes grand scheme, like there's traveling, there's living.
Yeah.
Like I think I traveled abroad before I lived. Once I traveled, I want to live. And I don't think people understand that we deal with the taxes and stuff like that. There's a thing in the tax code which a lot of people don't know because you have to understand it when you live abroad. And
so if you're out of the, for the people that missed it, I know that got it, but for people that are out of the country for 330 consecutive days, you don't have to pay taxes. That's what he said, just to catch that up.
Because it's for those living abroad because you can't get double taxed.
Yeah,
because most countries have tax for paying taxes. UAE doesn't, but most countries have taxes where if you're working
for a calendar year,
every calendar year you can do that. So when we book our travels, we have to say, all right, we'll be home for 3 weeks, and then we're out because we got to get back. And air travel counts as being in America, but if you're out of the country for a calendar year,
you got to get
for 330 days consecutively, you do not have to pay tax. You have to file, but you don't have to pay. Right. And that's one of the things of why it's so important to get the passport, to understand there are ways around it. And there are countries that actually, again, healthcare is big. We were in Amsterdam.
Love Amsterdam. What's up, Nell?
Right. We were in Amsterdam with the family, and talk about like literally this notion of like, what is America doing? My son has severe asthma, so he was allergic. I think they had some great pancakes. They might have coconut in there or something. Allergic reaction. Went to the hospital. I was like, what do we pay? What do you pay?
Bro.
Like, what do you mean? We're talking about asthma attack, dude. Like, what? No, you don't pay.
That's a culture shock in itself, bro.
Dude, I was tearing up like, oh my god, like you just saved my son's life.
That's probably why they don't want you to leave.
Honestly, don't start, because I've been saying it. The American dream. They're trapping you to say don't leave because it's so good here.
It's a big jail. I related America a lot to North Korea in some ways. Like, it's not as extreme, but like it's still like, at one point we had Rocket Man, they had Rocket Man, and then another point, I mean, we're number one in the world in narcissism, and so I mean, there's lots of ways we can spin it.
I mean, just last week, North Korea fired off like 5-6 missiles. America, in response, fired off 5 or 6 missiles.
It's just reverse projection.
It's like, what are y'all like? For what? If the country ain't but so big, what are you worried about? But they're worried about like North Korea can hit South Korea, which of course they can, but they hit Japan. And I remember living in Japan. Every time a missile launched, we had to have some announcement because they would hit the Japan Sea, and that's scary because Japan
it could miss.
And so it's really interesting how seeing these global events shaping. When you live abroad, just like, oh snap, this is what is going on. Because
from another point of view,
right, the rift in America, like, I get it, but there's global stuff, and that's why America's so different. They're so far removed. Like, think about it.
Literally isolated too.
Yeah, Canada, U.S., Mexico, Central South America is there,
and that's a thin part.
Right, you got the rest of the world in the Eastern Hemisphere, and they're all interconnected.
I wish we could show like
I do have
flat out map.
Where's my? Oh, dude, I have a map. It's packed up. I have a big.
I
got one of those big those big high school maps that you pull down. I got that.
And you can really see. Oh, I remember that one. That's nice.
Man, you pull it down and pull it up.
Yeah.
Those,
yeah. You can't do that without no noise,
man.
But the thing is going back to Juneteenth, the main message I really wanted people to understand is, when you're being empathetic to people of color in general,
right?
And it's not to say that other people don't go through stuff, but when I saw it's racism, it take all of us on the back of helmets in the NFL right after Kaepernick. That's when I knew something might have made it a change. We've been marching for a long time and all that kind of stuff, and
racism in the end zone.
Yeah. Even in Madden, watching it. But like, look, I'm gonna keep it real. All skin folk ain't kinfolk, and I know that as well. But at the same time, like, I think that it's important for us, and we all been through enough, especially in America, for us to really get out there and see something different. And you'll realize, actually, a lot of other countries have very similar struggles to American black people.
Right.
I'm not saying it's the same, but it's very, very similar.
But this goes back to the and I'm probably gonna mess it up.
I mess up a lot. So.
Bacon's Rebellion, if I'm not mistaken. I could get my rebellions wrong, so if you Google it, history, Wikipedia.
Fact checkers.
Right, Bacon's Rebellion was a revolt. Bacon, B-A-C-O-N.
Oh, Southside, Bacon.
This was a rebellion fought I want to say 18, fill in the last two, I forget. But essentially it boiled down to this idea that you had workers, farmers, who were both black and white, fighting against the farm owners who were white. And you had black people and white people coming together to fight against the, I guess, oligarchy or the people.
The farmers' oligarchy, right. Farmers' oligarchy.
So what happened as a result, because they had so much power, the oligarchy said, "Stop, you're white. You're not like them black folks." So that was the first time we're all struggling together. Poor whites, poor blacks, we're all in the same mess. They want to divide us by class, by race, and say, "Hey, you're not them." It's better to be a poor white farmer than a poor black farmer. I mean, was it Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock who said, one of the two comedians was like, I think it was Chris Rock. He said, I'm black, I'm a millionaire, but not one white person want to switch places with me.
Yeah. Even if they still had the same amount of money, they still wouldn't want to switch. Yeah, I mean that's the story of OJ with Jay-Z. Right. Same thing. Yeah,
like that.
It's still a lower level,
but that goes back to the Bacon's Rebellion, and that goes back to this idea of them saying it's better to be poor and white than poor and black, because at least once you're whites, you still have some privileges.
They gonna look at you still, and they're gonna put an asterisk by it.
That's the crux of American history. This idea of separating them, because we're all in the struggle. Have versus have nots, right? It's not a color thing. It's like it's a social hierarchy. Like the idea of we could solve the world's problems, right? I don't want to get into the idea of socialism and like people giving away money, but if you have people who have money in their mind, they're altruistic. We can solve the world water crisis with a couple $1 billion. We got a couple people that can do that real quick. We're writing a check.
Oh yeah, they have plenty to go.
But why don't they want to do that? Is because you need the poor people.
Yeah.
You need
and
to have
it's almost like weather. You need to have the differences in order for the weather to go.
Right. Because everybody has something. You can't.
Yeah.
If everybody has a basic need,
nobody moves,
and you don't have an idea of we need to strive for this. If you work hard, you can be
That's real. That's real. That is real though. A lot of people don't think about that. I've thought about it a couple of times, but you're right. Yeah, you can't. That is true. Because if let's say we did solve everything, then it might be even more disastrous. That's interesting, man. That's
purely that's economics. You can't.
Yeah, that's economics. Yeah.
And one of my students, we've had these discussions in my AP economics class. Is how I'm all for helping everybody out, but the way capitalism works, they don't want that to happen, because you have to have the have versus have-nots.
Yeah.
If you allow every worker around the world to have a minimum wage of X dollars, then you can't exploit people. Yeah. You can't make your products for cheaper to get your profit. I mean, we rock, Nikes. We every device in this room is an Apple device. We got Canons. We're paying them money, and their labor is cheap. Yeah. So we know better. We do better, but they ain't no better product than Apple products. Right?
I be trying to tell people that. So look, it's expensive. It's expensive. That car is expensive, bro. Every phone is expensive. Just about every car is expensive.
I just booted up my laptop from 2015. Mac still work because it just updates all the time. Right. And so we have to understand. We have to understand that the power structure cannot allow Maslow's hierarchy of needs: health, safety, food, shelter, water. Those five. There's more.
Is it a pyramid?
It's a pyramid.
Oh, nice. I felt it was a pyramid.
Yeah. Hierarchy of needs, the pyramid, the bottom rung. They can't allow everybody to have that, because by giving everybody one leg up, that means everybody can actually then move up the social hierarchy. Okay. And you're not like them at the bottom, so you're good. And at the bottom, hey, it's okay. Yeah. Pull yourself up, and you'll get there eventually. And if you don't, your kids might. Yeah. But that's it.
Yeah. That's interesting with economics, man. That's what's my timeline?
52.
52. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna wrap it up because I'm going in and out on this. I'm gonna post this one, then I'm gonna actually post another one, or just chop them up. But last thing I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna let him have the last word, is, and this is just my personal opinion, don't be so pro-black to where you can't listen to other points of view.
Say it again.
Pause was good on
say
that.
It again.
Don't be so pro-black to where you can't learn something from.
I like
it's working out perfectly the way it's supposed to.
Because it's a pause for effect type thing.
Yeah.
I like
that.
I like it.
Okay.
Message.
All right. Like the last word, sir?
I don't know what to say.
You can even end it with how you like playing football here, because I never thought I would play. I didn't know I could play football out here.
The thing, I'll leave it with this, because now you just made me think about that.
Okay.
I'm gonna quote my favorite John Dewey from Chicago. This idea of education and experience. Like, paraphrasing, but this idea of go out there and experience life and stay educated. That's it. Experience life and stay educated.
Stay curious. Sounds like Steve Jobs a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, but that's how I, coming from corporate America and learning how to be an educator and reading what he said, I'm like, this stuff makes so much sense, right? We all have experiences. Let's use those to get better. That's it. That's how I see it.
Learn, help others.
Yeah.
Keep learning. So, well, we're gonna wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. This Black Male Genius Genesis Podcast Part 8. Streaming on 2 different devices here. We got the mic. So yeah. We out of here. Thanks, B. All right. Happy Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Free your mind.
Big ups.